Now we've fallen and lost our way. It gets harder and harder to stay. Yet if through the night I should follow, it will be by black starlight and sorrow. Oh, I wonder how it's all going to work out this time. I've got the, oh, come on. Got the multi-stream thing going on. See how that works out. Let's see. Well, it will be whatever it will be. Fine. It is what it is. So. Come sit with me, stay a while. Feel the water on the wind, and the earth beneath their feet, and the spirit of the trees, from the earth to the high sea. Sea. Now we've fallen, lost our way. It gets harder and harder to stay. Yet if through the night I should follow, it will be by black starlight and sorrow. I pray. Are we here again? Seriously doubting an ability to speak. Why stay? Really, why complicated answers cloud my mind? Like the turbidity of the sea, like the turbidity of the sea. Now we've fallen and lost our way. It gets harder and harder to stay. Yet if through the night I should follow, it will be my black starlight and sorrow. For this I pray. Sense of sudden darkness inside, and shut it down, shut it down. It's just a matter of time. Passive suicide's not much time to turn it around. gotta check, you know. Pretty sure it's coming through. It's coming through. Alright, well, let's see how this one's doing over here. Yeah, probably not so good. Alright, that's fine. Tra-la-la. Why? But why? Why is it like that? Nobody knows. Alright. Another rough week. What got you through this week? What got me through this week? What got me through this week? I'm not sure that I know, actually. Oh, actually, what got me through, well, at least the last 24 hours was the Lullabies from Detroit broadcast, some recordings of David Blair's poetry, which is very lovely. It's on my wall. You should check it out. He was essentially a local legend of a poet and activist who passed away about 10 years ago now, and so powerful. One of the poems that's in the middle of that recording from last night is something called Into the Darkness, and that is one of my most favorite poems I think I've ever heard in my life, and it's really powerful, and I'm really grateful that I had the chance to see him perform that live before he passed away. So I really encourage everybody to check out David Blair, his poetry. It's a good link to his recording on my wall. So, and that's, you know, something that we really need to do right now is affirm our shared humanity through art and music and literature and anything that's really life affirming. Because every second counts. Hey, John. She waits at night from the depths of her grief, desperately weeping a moment's reprieve. Once for the loss of a lover's dream, twice for the loss of those of kin. Do you realize the trouble we're in? Won't be long before the boss landing. So take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. So take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. Pocket of suicide, snag in the dream, silently rise and transcend the grief. Yes, it's time to rise and begin. Yes, it's time, because the ice is getting thin. So take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest. take all these dreams, consider them true. You've shattered the rest, and you've shattered me too. Softly my heart dreams like a fox, so demure. I often find a nuance in time where the harmony is pure. So often a heart breathes a song so assured. I'll often find a nuance in time where the harmony is pure. Loved in a trace of time where the wild is encouraged. Restless, I confess, I could have been there for you, but now you dance in the mist. I guess that call went through, and now you're freer than you've ever been. 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 Oh, that one I call Shattered. Sometimes it's called The Call. But I remember actually I have a really nice recording of that and this will be relevant to you, John. Actually, we were listening to this recording because that was recorded with a friend of mine like 15 years ago now in New York. And it's a great recording. And we were listening to it one day on the way to Fremont, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Fremont because I think we were taking our guitars. There's this great guitar guy in Fremont, and he is really affordable. And so we were driving from Port Clinton to Fremont and listening to these recordings. And it's just such a lovely drive. Such a lovely drive in the Ohio roads and just the backcountry. I think it was like, I don't know, Route 6 or something. I don't know, whatever route that is. I'm sure you know what it is, John, but I can't remember exactly. But one of those Ohio roads that goes through the countryside and past all the farms, and it's just lovely and beautiful. And so now when I play that song, that's what I think of, and it's kind of nice. And it's interesting, like the way that we attach these visual memories to things that we weren't expecting to do, but there they are. So yeah, there's that one. And this one was born on Catawba. Sometimes call through the midst of it all. It's true. And I don't even wonder why. see the light dancing starboard as I sit here alone. When will you be home? I can see the light dancing starboard as I sit here alone. The light Starboard, not Starboard, even though that's a nice title too. And then, God's Country. That's what it is. That's what it is. Gosh, I think I've written a lot of my songs in Ohio, actually. Like that's where a lot of them are born, and then I finish them in, maybe I finish them in Michigan. Mostly finish them in Michigan. But a lot of stuff's born in Ohio. So far what is that one called? That one's called All I Ever Do. Play these songs and sing for you. And maybe sometimes you all will come through, but most of the time it's just one or two. Sometimes three, maybe even four. But sooner or later, you know, I'm just going to have to walk through that door and give it some time. Let it unwind. Have a drink of wine. Have a drink of time. Let it go. Let it shine. Who knows? Who knows what to do in these times other than to just be what it is and let it rhyme. Even though I prefer to stop with the timing of the rhyming, because it just goes on, and just, you know, let it spill, and then it kind of just chills in a second or two, and then you never know what you might say. That's the lovely thing about being on camera, is that you gotta come up with stuff that you gotta come up with something, right? And so the next thing you know, you're saying things that you had no idea that you were gonna say that, or share that particular memory or moment, but there it is. And this one I call Past Next Tuesday, 4 days at best. And this was actually written in Michigan, but the challenge was from Ohio, so there you go. So I've got like all kinds of like Michigan, Ohio entwinings. I am so very convoluted. Why don't you tell it to me so? Walk through shades of darkness, searching for stories that I know. Why won't you tell it to me softly? Given my foreshortened sense of fate. Sure thing, Joe. You know I can't see past next Tuesday, but maybe this can wait. Give me a spot inside your sunshine, and some warmth and sense of place. I'll leave my boots outside the foyer and bring champagne by the case. Clouds of dreams, golden lofty, my ambition prey to chase. Though it seems rather simple, my windswept mission of modern grace. The stories that I know, much more than you see, much more than I show. Yet through this enlightenment mess, I can only see 4 days at best. I can only see 4 days at best. It's true. It's a true story. 4 days. Sometimes it's only like a couple. Sometimes it's like 4 hours. 4 days at best. Aww. Sooner or later I'll figure out like this other machine that I bought for live streaming, which will let me plug in my electric guitars, and then I'll share probably a bit more of my instrumentals, but I don't share them as often now. All these technology loops that we get lost in. All that singing in church, Joe, still comes through in my songs. It's like kind of crazy, actually, how much it does. And especially in this one. Song number 122, because it still doesn't have a name. I'm not sure that it wants one, actually. That is its name, Song 122. singing in church. There's such great acoustics in churches. Maybe I'm gonna go do that now, actually. This is another one that's like kind of has that like devotional thing. Is what do I do? Something like that. That's actually got more instrumental to it than I can perform at the moment, but I love just singing that. It just feels so good to just sing those notes just like that. And that one I call Aesyata, which has no meaning other than that that's what it is. That is Aesyata. That is this, just that flow. So that's kind of probably. Oh, there's my kitty. Can you hear my kitty? She'd like to sing now. Oh yeah, I remember being envious of like all the really good singers in our church class singing. I'd be like, oh man, like I want to sing that. I want to sing that good. And then I was never quite sure. And then I remember one day in music class in like 6th grade, we were the lessons were to sing on pitch, the whatever the it was just like do re mi or something, but it was like a certain like series of pitches, and we were singing in class in like groups of 3, so like the teacher could figure out whether each of us, in a group of 3 could each figure out if each of us were singing in pitch. But of my group of 3, one person was sick, I think, and so then it was just a group of 2, and the other person just didn't sing, and so I was singing by myself in front of the whole class and was exactly on pitch, much to my surprise and relief, because that was like mortifying to be in 6th grade singing all by myself in front of the whole class. But that was a good day. That was a surprisingly good moment that I wasn't expecting. So that also is a memory burned in my mind for all time. But I think when I sing that song, the Aesyata, kind of a devotional song, there's part of me that always remembers that moment of being the only one singing. But wow, what a great experience to go through, 5 or 6 years of grade school with the same cohort of people. That's really powerful to do. And I remember going into high school, Pinckney High School after that was like, oh man, I was so overwhelmed. Like, where is my small class and cohort? They've all like dispersed into this ocean of people. So that was, yeah, me too. That was a cool classroom too. That was like when they built that wing to St. Mary's, and then the music room was like on the other side of the gym. That was like, I remember feeling so good about the fact that we had a music room devoted to music. I thought that was the coolest thing. Even if it was often like terrifying. Yeah, that was cool. So, what else can I say? I was going to say something else, but my stream of consciousness is fairly fragmented most often these days. And well, hopefully I will continue to sing on pitch and in key most of the time, and I will work on my songs, and one of these days I'll figure out this machine that I purchased so I can plug in my electric guitars, and I can actually do something a little bit more rockin' or different, or perhaps even figure out how to do some layering so I can do some more instrumental versions of things. And yeah, I know. What is on my mind? Oh man, divest from the war machine. That's what's on my mind, Joe. We gotta divest from this war machine, invest in social programs and social everything, social infrastructure, social safety nets, like the whole deal. Because Black Lives matter, and they matter a lot, and we need to get our shit together, America. Holy crap. Oh, darn it. Bleep that out. I'm working so hard on not swearing in any of these things that I do. So, I've been doing really well, because I tend to swear quite a bit in general. So I'm really proud of myself. That is actually probably the only cuss word in this entire stream, and it's been like 45 minutes already, so that's impressive. And yeah, I did actually. I used to organize peace demonstrations in Howell in Brighton in Livingston County. I actually made it into the county paper a couple of times, on the front page even, which always surprised me, but I also thought it was pretty cool. And then I thought, well, at the very least, it was definitely documented that I am a supporter of peace. And I think back in those times now, like I actually stopped doing street demonstrations I stopped organizing them for a few reasons. And partly because there were counter-protesters that were pretty scary. And bringing their vicious dogs to just kind of like walk along the perimeter of our gatherings, and all they would have to do is just let go of that leash. And I'm like, well, what, what is the deal? Like, okay, so I understand, anti-war. I'm definitely very anti-war. I'm very much like divest from the war machine, invest in peace economies and peace process and diplomacy, and especially peace diplomacy. And I understand that people don't agree with all of that, and that's fine. But what we do need to agree on is anti-racism. And so at the time when I was doing peace protests, there was a lot of anti-Arab American and anti-Arab sentiment, and that was a big deal. So that was like a big part of what we were doing, is trying to build bridges with the Arab American community. That was also when the Arab American Museum was created in 2005 in Dearborn, which was phenomenal. They do phenomenal stuff there. If you have not been to that museum, you gotta go to that museum. It is amazing, the stuff that they have in there. And they run this whole film festival in their theater. They have a theater downstairs. It's so incredible. And I actually volunteered in their library for about, I don't know, like maybe half a year or something, a while ago now, like 2007. And just incredible. Just an incredible resource. And we did a lot of work with just, building understanding across cultures, and building understanding of what Arab culture is and Arab American culture is, and really just trying to do that grassroots work of building social fabric and understanding. And so now we have these demonstrations that, you should totally go there, Joe. You would love it. We have these, the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, and and then just complete and utter outrage at murders in the streets, and calling it for what it is. That's what it was a murder in the street. And the ancestral rage that goes along with all of the white supremacy and oppression that has been going on for thousands of years and hundreds of years here in this country, as we've named it. And we got a lot of work to do still. And so I was having this interesting conversation with somebody about how, when I stopped doing the street protests or demonstrations or whatever you want to call them, organizing, peace rallies, gathering lots of folks up into the courtyards or on the streets, or usually not in the streets. Usually it was like kind of like in the street side or parks, or somewhere that was visible. And someone said to me, well, if we were going to do that now, if people want to protest African Americans, then that's pretty messed up. And I thought, well, yeah, like, would we still get the same kind of violent kind of implied threats from folks the same way that we did 15 years ago when I was doing the peace protests? And I think that the answer is clearly yes, because people are basically out of their minds. So, thanks, Joe. Somebody said to me, I used to work in hell for a summer. I worked in hell running the canoe and kayak business out there. It was a really good time. It was actually one of the best summers of my life. And I remember going to work one day, and I stopped at like the Portage Lake store in between Little and Big Portage, I guess, whatever road that's called. And there's just this little market that kind of sits where, like, right where you have to, like, carry the canoe around the dam. And I think I was there in the morning, and I don't know, like, I ran into somebody that knew me from the canoe and kayak business or something, and we were just talking about the lakes and, you know, the lake chain and everything out there, and how it was just so beautiful and amazing. And he's like, well, what's your name? I'm like, my name's Dawn. He's like, if my name was Dawn, I would just shine. And I was just like, yeah, that's totally what I should do. And it was such a cool moment of just celebrating the name and celebrating my name and celebrating what it means to shine as a human being. So cool. That was so cool. That was such a cool moment. So that's McGregor. I think it was McGregor. No, I don't know if it was McGregor. I think it's like, is it McGregor? It seems like it was like, I don't know what road that is. I get so confused after a while. Driving to hell from Ann Arbor is actually, it's 17 miles, but it feels like forever. Just driving North Territorial, and then you turn right on whatever road that is, and then you take another right on another road, and then sooner or later it's Patterson Lake Road. And it's a great drive. I love driving. I love driving out in the middle of nowhere. But all those roads are beautiful, and that's actually, I think, why there's so many motorcycles and runs, and the Run to Hell is because they're just great roads to ride a motorcycle on. And that motorcycle club that I believe is still out there at the horse ranch, that's a pretty crazy place. It's where I met my friend Carol. Actually, he was performing with his one of his bands, his Michigan band, on that stage in Hell. I met Carol in Hell, and that was a pretty cool night. It was actually a little bit like dream walking. That was definitely a dream walk. That was dream walking. It's the extra shot of whiskey, I think, is what did it. But well, it was the store was not in Hell. It was on the way, so it could have been McGregor Road, because I'm pretty sure it was like that little store that's in between the Portage Lakes, and it's like one of the that's actually another one of the boat launches. One of the another canoe and kayak launch is right off of there. So I guess it sits on the river, I think. So confused. It's all those winding roads and rivers and lakes. Yeah, it's so. But I thoroughly enjoyed my time that summer outside. Like almost every minute of the day I was outside. I would have to go inside periodically for, like, you know, writing up canoe rental tickets or talking to people, and I would do it as fast as possible because I couldn't possibly, like, tolerate being indoors on those beautiful sunny days. And driving down to, what was that? What is that lake that starts with an H that's past the store that actually was on, that got, I think it burned, actually. The other store in, oh, what is that lake? Oh man. Oh, it's Bruin Lake. Bruin Lake. That's where the canoes and the kayaks would launch at Bruin Lake, and they'd come all the way through the river and the creek and a couple other lakes, I think. It was a hike. It was like a serious canoe or kayak hike. Is it Highland Lake? Yeah, it's a cruise, and then people would come in behind the dam site inn, and it, like, right where that the dam site actually is, like, they would pull their canoes and kayaks up, like, right just before the dam, to the left side of the river, which I always thought was kind of weird and a little bit dangerous, and that's where we would haul the canoes and kayaks back, is from behind the dam site inn, which I got pretty buff that summer, for sure. And I have these great photographs of, actually, and I've got to dig these up because these are some of the best photos I've ever taken in my life. And it was one of the best days I've ever had, is when there was dozens of horses in the parking lot, dozens of motorcycles, and I think there was even like another like event of I don't remember what it was called. Maybe it was like something with, I don't even know what it was called, but there was a bunch of hearses, like stylish hearses. So it was like horses and motorcycles and some hearses thrown in, and like it was just such a bizarre wilderness in the parking lot that day between that country store and the gift store and the Dam Site Inn. This is just incredible. And all I could do was just like take it in and just bask in horses and motorcycles. And I took a bunch of pictures, and they're somewhere. I mean, that was like 11 years ago now. And actually, I often want to go out there and try to chance upon another day of motorcycles and horses, but who knows what day that will be. But oh, I don't know if I know Julia Harbert. There's a lot of folks that lived out that way. That was like technically Hell, and I think Hell had its own zip code for a while. Seems like. No, they had a post office there in the country store, and you could send a postcard from Hell. They would burn the edges for you, and then stamp it from Hell. It's pretty cool. And it's a hamlet. Hell is technically a hamlet. It's like a little hamlet, and it's just a bend in the road, and a hamlet, I think, is technically like, it's less than 2,000 people for sure, but I think it's like even like less than 800 or something. And of course, Pinckney's always just trying to like eat it up. Pinckney's trying to eat up all of it. It's like Lakeland, Hamburg, Hell, it all. Pinckney wants it all. Like, stop it, just knock it off. Because I grew up in Lakeland on Zuki Lake, and I always liked that it was just like this little place called Lakeland that basically, like, there was no real place exactly. The place was the lake and all of the lakes, and there was just this kind of easygoing, carefree, summery lake time that went along with living in Lakeland. I loved it. And Metropolitan Pinckney. it's what it wants to be. It is. Yeah, like, even so much so that, like, my sister was trying to send us something from California, and like we couldn't even look up, like, we couldn't even get the Hamburg zip code. Like, all that would come up was 48169. It's like, okay, knock it off, Pinckney, just stop it. Oh, but I love it out there, and every now and then I'll just take a drive out and go out to my mom's house there on Zuki Lake and just kind of chill out there, and remember what it feels like, and what is basically like a tiny little resort community that everyone now lives at year round, but it still has that sense of just being, a summer vacation all the time, which I think has probably interfered with me having a productive life in some ways, because I just always want to be on vacation time, summertime, island time, beach time, coast time. I always just want to be on lake time. So I guess I will. Maybe that's what I'll do next time that I'm broadcasting during the day, is I'll do it from the lake. If I can get a signal. It's kind of hard to live cast sometimes from some places because it's just out in the wilderness. Maybe I'm going to try to broadcast from a swamp one day. That's what I'm going to do. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. I love that it's always like this like small, intimate gathering that I can touch base with folks that I haven't really connected with in a powerful way, and this has been a powerful way for me to connect with folks and really dig into what connects us. So thank you for being part of that, and thank you for sharing some thoughts and comments. And yeah, I remember your I don't know if your folks still have the same house. I think I remember your house is like over also in Lake World. I mean, it's the whole place is Lake World out there, but yeah, I remember, I think yours is like in the woods. That was cool. All the woods houses. Oh man. I think I'm gonna have to go for a walk. All right, I miss you. I miss you too. I miss everybody so much, and I'm so glad that we're still connected after all these years. So have a good week, and as you may know, I do a regular Saturday night gig. So far, so good. All right, take care. Good night. See if I can figure out how to disconnect this thing.